broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching NowMedia Television.
Hey everyone, welcome to Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac, and the show where we discuss all things legal and conflict resolution, broadcasting from Now Media Television. Good afternoon, my name is Mac Pierre-Louis. I'm an attorney, mediator, and arbitrator.
And I am Natalia the co-host of Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. And I am now in Warsaw, Poland. So we are now connecting continents, but even more with our guest, Federico Vazzoli, whom I am going to introduce in a minute. I just want to say that with this episode, we are starting a truly international journey because we are going to be in Houston, in Poland, and we are going also to segue to Asia. And this is where our first guest, Federico, is absolutely necessary. Federico is an Italian avvocata, but also as qualified in helping businesses in doing their businesses in Asia. He's specifically having his offices in Singapore and Vietnam. And today we are going to be talking about how to become an international lawyer, the one as Federico Vazzoli is, and how do you combine the two worlds of Asia, Europe, and now, as we can see, the third continent, which is North America. Federico, welcome. It's great to have you. Tell us a few words about yourself.
Thank you very much, Natalia and Mac. It's great to be with you. I am currently in Hanoi, Vietnam, it's great to bridge all these different continents, North America, Europe, and Vietnam. Clearly, I'm not originally from Vietnam. I'm Italian. I qualified at the Bar of Milan way too many years ago. So I'm a lawyer qualified there in Italy, and I have my own firm that has offices, as you mentioned, in Singapore, Vietnam, in both Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, and Malta as a European base. For those of you that don't know, Malta is a very small country, the smallest country within the European Union, and it is English-speaking, so it is a great base for international lawyers like us.
Awesome. Federico, well, welcome back. In a way, you're not a stranger to us. We've been working with you over the last few years where you've come onto the Lawyers Meeters International podcast, lmipodcast.com, and you've given lots of good tips and advice for business people out there. And I know you've done work with business people in the US, but also all over the world. But this show really is more about your kind of practice, not necessarily about advice for business people. But to anybody out there who might be a young lawyer who's looking to bridge different countries around the world and to be really an international lawyer like you are, what are some of the things that you need to, I guess, have in your background and in your experience and your skill set in order for you to be a successful attorney who can cross the globe like this, like you do?
Well, it's great to be back, first of all, and see you again and contribute to your podcast. And this time to your show. I wouldn't really define myself as a successful lawyer. Leave it to you to define me as such, and to the client's satisfaction. But I would say that the number one quality is to be curious and passionate. So how I ended up, out of all places, how I ended up in Hanoi, it all started because over 20 years ago, I was a young student in Italy. And most law students back in the day, talking about 2002, the world was different back then. The world was experiencing probably the most positive phase of globalization. It was much more optimistic than it is today. There was no talking about decoupling between China and the US, or these two spheres of the world, the West and China. So at the time, Italian law students like me would generally do an internship abroad, generally in either London or New York. Now, London I knew quite well because I had studied in England before when I was at high school. So I wanted to see something new. New York I knew quite well, and it was just after 9/11. So I said, well, let's see something else. So there was this opportunity in China, and at the time, nobody really would go to work in such a remote place as it was considered back then. And I did it. There was this opening thanks to my university. I did an internship in a law firm in Beijing, and I had the time of my life. China was really different back then. It was very curious. People were business was booming, and there was a lot of curiosity and not so much competition, that has to be said. To the extent that when I came back to Italy and completed my studies, it also helped in my then family-owned law firm that had always dealt with international law cases. And back in the day, China was very trendy. A lot of companies wanted to do business from Italy, wanted to do business with China. So yes, it's true that other countries, notably the US, the UK, probably Germany, France, were already ahead, and there were a few law firms from those countries in China. There were not so many from Italy, and yet the demand was there. So I did that. I studied. Then back in Italy, there was a course on Chinese law, a postgraduate degree in Chinese law, Chinese business. So I focused on that, and I traveled. So I was very lucky because my family supported me. I was very lucky because I ended up in firms that allowed me to save some time for studying and for traveling. And eventually I landed a position in my family's law firm where I said, look, I know very well that I have sort of hereditary rights, but I don't think I deserve them as such. That is, let's not fool ourselves. If I am to inherit a firm, I will just do something else. If I am to have a privilege in this firm, I would like it to be translated into me expanding the firm elsewhere. And at the time, it was China and Southeast Asia as a whole.
And thank you for that, but it's not just your curiosity that brought you there. I also understand that this is the knowledge of different languages. This is where we've been joking between ourselves, because NowMedia is truly bilingual television, and it combines English and Spanish. And I know that both of us do speak these languages. Federico, what other languages do you speak?
Well, I speak French. My first non-native language is English. So my native language is Italian. I speak English. And my French, Spanish, and German are not as good as my English, but I can work in these languages, especially French and Spanish. My German is very rusty. I have some basic knowledge of Chinese, which I learned 21 years ago when I lived there, and then practiced a little bit the following years by traveling. And now I'm trying to crack the code of Vietnamese, which is a truly difficult language for a native Italian speaker like me. But yes, that is it. And then, since I spent quite a lot of time in Malta, I can utter a few words in Maltese, which is the second official language of the island on top of English.
And then quite a few people probably know that Malta has an own original language. And so it's great that you've been introducing us to us, but then tell us also how it is to be in the Vietnamese environment where you are now.
Well, it's long past the phase of falling in love. That is, it is now a place that I know, I think, quite well, even though my language skills are not as developed when it comes to Vietnamese. But it is a fantastic country. Right now, it is experiencing the positive outcomes of a record year, 2022, when it grew by 8-point-something%, which is a record percentage in terms of GDP growth. It was one of the most important, one of the most significant years for foreign direct investments, and it kept on growing even during the pandemic. So these numbers, we have experienced these growths in other countries. I'm talking, for instance, about my native Italy, but these were just the rebounds following the disastrous falls, the plummeting economy during the pandemic. Vietnam did grow also during the pandemic. So it is an exciting place, but yes, it is also country which is not the El Dorado. It has negative sides too, and these negative sides are represented, in my view, by pollution, by the fact that it's not entirely developed, which is also its fascination. The fact that it's quite messy. So it's noisy, it's messy, it's smelly, it's polluted, which I already said. The rules are not so clear. So in terms of rule of law, you will need some protection. And of course, there are some geopolitical aspects to take into account. Vietnam is very close to China. It cannot do without China. But on the other hand, it holds no grudge to the Americans. And the United States of America is one of the largest investors in this country, together with Singapore, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan. So we're talking about countries that are allies to the US, meaning that Vietnam is now playing what it calls the so-called bamboo policy, which is to try and bend between the two giants, the Western Bloc and China, and offer the best it can to both sides.
And Federico, as we start wrapping up, thank you so much for the tips about what qualities make for a good international lawyer. So how can people get a hold of you if they want to know more about what you do and kind of follow your story?
Well, I am not super active on social networks. So, and also as a lawyer, I have a mandate to remain private about cases. But indeed, I do post something. There is a whole collection of videos that I recorded thanks to you. So that can be seen on your webpage. And you can follow me primarily on LinkedIn, Federico Vasoli, as well on other social networks. What I do is essentially three things together with my team. Number one is, generally speaking, business law, international business law, meaning that if you want a legal opinion about, do you want to sell this, do you want to buy this from one of the countries that we operate in, namely Italy, Vietnam, Singapore, and Malta, or if you want to conduct a legal due diligence on a potential partner in these jurisdictions that I mentioned, or you want to set up a company in these jurisdictions that I mentioned, we are the right lawyers to come to. Okay. Because that's what we do. That's the basic thing that we do. So contracts, legal opinions, due diligence, company formation and management, and administration rather than management.
Yeah,
that is
and
what we do.
Federico will probably pick up the other two on the other side. Mm-hmm. All right?
Sorry?
We'll pick up the other two things that you continue to do on the other side of the break. All right?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll be right back.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
As a home or business owner, it can be tough to find a painting company that you can rely on. Look no further. Hi, I'm Courtney Hughes, owner of 360 Painting West Houston, your go-to painting company for residential and commercial needs. 360 Painting's mission is simple. We want to provide you with the highest quality finish and the best painting experience possible. Our company's residential and commercial painting services are founded on three core values. First, quality. We ensure the use of premium paints, high-quality finishes, and proven painting methods. Second, professionalism. We are committed to professional and responsive painting services. We coordinate and plan projects around your schedule and will treat your property with the utmost respect. And lastly, customer service. Your satisfaction is our #1 priority. So before laying a single brushstroke, we will make sure that we understand your vision for your home or office, and we'll do all that we can to paint that vision into reality. We strive to complete every project to your specifications, and we ensure professional, accountable, and reliable service from the first brushstroke to the last. So the next time that you need your home or business painted, give us a call for your free estimate at 713-829-1581.
Bienvenidos a Interior Bar Houston, el bar más vibrante de Downtown en la ciudad de Houston. En Interior, la fiesta nunca para. Nuestro DJ de clase mundial te mantendrá bailando toda la noche con la mejor música de hoy y de siempre. Además, aquí encontrarás las mejores bebidas y cócteles. En Interior, nuestro ambiente electrizante y nuestro equipo amigable te asegurarán una noche que nunca olvidarás. Te esperamos de 9:30 a 2 de la mañana. Interior, donde la diversión nunca se detiene.
Hey, are you a small business owner that's struggling to double or triple your revenue and profits? My name is Michael Rager. I'm your business guide with Teach Your Business to Fish. Our success operating system will help you double or triple your profits every 2 to 3 years while actually maintaining some semblance of a home life. Call us at 713-201-5559 and we'll help you become a real success.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Tell me, are you looking to sell a house or buy a home? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, and your real estate needs are my priority. With over 2 decades worth of experience within the real estate industry, I know I can help. Whether you're selling a house and moving on to the next chapter or buying a home to create generational wealth for your family, I am the realtor for you. Call me now at 713-256-5465 and let me handle all of your real estate needs.
Welcome back to Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. And so we are still with our guest, Federico Vasoli, who is an international lawyer. I say that because he literally is from Malta but works in Hanoi, Vietnam. And now we're going to let him finish up a couple more points from before the break. And then we're going to move over to him giving us tips on how you can engage your business in China, in Singapore, and in Vietnam. Federico, tell us, what else does your law firm do?
We also do 2 more things on top of general business law in the countries that I mentioned. We also do asset protection and tax planning. That also works for individuals, not just for companies. So we've seen an increase in demands, especially from this part of the world, for alternative residencies and passports. And the third thing that we do is fintech, particularly cryptocurrency law. We don't do investments, we don't do hanky-panky stuff. But for instance, if you want to launch your crypto exchange and have it regulated by a proper regulator like the one in Singapore, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, or if you want to us to go through your white paper, your light paper, that is, you find the right consultants for that, because we have a pretty strong record since 2017-18 on that. Especially my business partner based in Singapore was quite pioneering in that.
And Federico, anybody watching us might think, okay, my business is good enough to go into Asia. They say there are lower work costs there. They say the environment is good. Maybe I need some supplies. You are a lawyer, but you know many businesses. You introduced many businesses into those markets in Asia, primarily China, Singapore, and Vietnam. Can you tell us, if anybody comes to you, what they should be thinking ahead of investing in any of those countries in Asia?
They should absolutely think about the legalities first. I know that they may come across as boring and useless, and at the end of the day, it's just a piece of paper. I will never use it, blah, 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 blah. From the Italian company, because he trusts him to be the shareholder in the Vietnamese company. He says, all right, I will do it myself without involving my company, my holding. But what if he dies? The moment he passes away, he has numerous heirs. What about the heirs? Would they inherit a fraction of the share in the Vietnamese company? And how would you notify the authorities, et cetera, et cetera? So it's really quite complicated. On the other hand, I would like to reassure you that Singapore is the quintessence of efficiency, as I often define it. So doing business in Singapore makes a lot of sense. So if you want to do business in this part of the world, it could work like this, that you set up regional headquarters in a place like Singapore, where the rule of law is upheld, where your rights are protected, and then from there, you do business in places like Vietnam and China.
Gotcha. So a person who is Texas-based, for example, the first thing that they need to think about is a legal aspect, as you've stated.
I'll say so.
And I remember in the podcast we discussed other things that went as far as immigration concerns. We had travel issues that might come up, especially during the pandemic. So all of those things of corporate structure, so all those things were things people had to think about. That they might not normally think that might become an issue one day. But, you know, Federico, basically, if you were to give somebody, you know, the quintessential advice on what not to do in any of these countries, okay, what would it be? If in terms of starting up a business or launching some kind of venture out there?
Well, in Singapore, do not break the law. That is, it's pretty much like the US as far as my limited knowledge of the US kicks in. That is, it is a place where the rule of law is upheld, and you just don't want to play with them, okay? So it's a very serious place. They have fair rules, just abide by the rules, and that's it. If you want to tap into the market and set up a structure, absolutely you can do it. You can close it down if it doesn't work. It's not going to be extra expensive. Don't think that Singapore is going to be so expensive as a place to establish your business. Yes, it is true that Singapore as a city is an expensive one to live, but it really depends on your lifestyle. It depends on how many employees you're going to have. So yes, salaries are high, probably not as high as in major American cities, certainly higher than European countries. But on the other hand, you have very low taxes. Everything works magnificently well. So you get what you pay for. So follow the rules. Don't play around. Don't trust the first consultant that comes across and that says that he or she is an expert, and you'll be fine. When it comes to Vietnam and China, I would first talk to a lawyer and then set up my business here. There are so many rules. I mean, Vietnam is a relatively big country. I know that compared to the US and to China, looks quite small, but it is bigger than Italy in terms of size. So in terms of for European standards, it is relatively big. And there are loopholes everywhere. I'll give you an example. If you want to be in the retail business, you need to have a company, or in any case, a legal entity in every province that you're going to sell your products to the public to. We assist a major luxury brand here in Vietnam that, after the retail market was liberalized, decided to take it into its hands. So they had shops in both Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, and Hanoi, and they needed to open 2 different companies for this purpose because they could not just operate 2 shops from one city only. So the takeaway is, in Singapore, just follow the rules. If you need some advice, do it. In Vietnam, keep your eyes wide open and protect yourself since the very beginning. As I said, by registering your trademark, your intellectual property rights in advance, and ideally here, and having properly written agreements, NDAs, and all this protection that is preliminary, that is pivotal to doing business. Eventually, you might decide not to do business, but at least you've been protected.
Federico, this is all great. If you could kindly once again remind us what's the best hold of you, whether it is via LinkedIn, via email, via the website. And once again, I understand any issue concerning taxes, administration of your business in any of those countries, China, Vietnam, or Singapore, registering trademarks, introducing your products into business, looking for business ventures and business opportunities. Any consultation of that kind is within your reach, within your legal firm. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, it is, absolutely. Maybe not so much in China, and longer in that I used to work in China very intensely back in the days. Now I'm focusing more on Singapore and Vietnam. But yes, we can help also China. We don't have an office in China. I think Vietnam is excellent for manufacturing purposes. So if you want to sell all over the world, to have an established European or American presence in the region, you can set up your factory here, or even enter into know-how, into licensing agreements, provided that your know-how is protected and they're stealing from you. But I would find myself more comfortable doing these things in Vietnam than in China. I think the risk of intellectual property thefts is slightly lower in Vietnam than it is in China, and probably they don't have the system to take it all over and screw you. So probably Vietnam is the right place if you want to manufacture, not just for a country of 100 million people like Vietnam is, but for the entire area of Southeast Asia as well as Northeast Asia to a certain extent. While Singapore is better probably for services, for holding companies, for funds, for cryptos, for taxes, etc. And you can reach me to answer your question, Natalia, via my website, via LinkedIn, via social networks, but I would say LinkedIn and my website are the best ways to connect with me and my colleagues.
All right.
So thank you, Enrico Vasoli. Thank you so much. And I understand. Yeah, and we'll see you again, I assure. But now it will be the time for a short break.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
Hey, are you a small business owner that's struggling to double or triple your revenue and profits? My name is Michael Rager. I'm your business guide with Teach Your Business to Fitch. Our success operating system will help you double or triple your profits every 2 to 3 years while actually maintaining some semblance of a home life. Call us at 713-201-5559 and we'll help you become a real success.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
¿Estás cansado de la inseguridad, la situación económica y de ya sabes quién? ¿Te gustaría salir de México y emigrar a Estados Unidos? Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años como inmigrante emprendedor en Estados Unidos. Sígueme en todas mis redes sociales para que juntos logremos ese gran sueño de emigrar y lograr conquistar el mercado americano.
Welcome back after the break. This is Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. And so now we're moving into a segment where we're going to discuss in-house legal counsel. What is that and what do they do?
and was in-house counsel with them, and then did some contract work for a bank. And then ended up back in government where I was in-house counsel for the Harris County tax assessor collector. And then I ran elections for Harris County for 8 years. And after that, I've been working with small businesses to act as their in-house counsel, and also do a lot of government work, working on election integrity issues and helping people navigate through local, state, and federal government.
This is great, and knowing your vast experience, we are absolutely thrilled to hear from you why you think, as an honest advice, why you think businesses, even small businesses, should have an in-house legal counsel.
It's nice to know someone you can just pick up the phone and call and have a quick question, or someone who can guide you to a direction. You know, the in-house counsel doesn't have to be the answer to all things, but they can help you find a person who is. So it's nice to know somebody who can answer quick questions about HR, or maybe review some contracts, or give you some advice about real estate attorneys. It's just, there's a myriad of issues. It's just nice to have somebody at your fingertips that you trust and you can call right away.
Yeah, Sonia, what about risk management? Today, we're always talking about risks and looking over our shoulders. How does an in-house legal counsel contribute to risk management and staying in compliance?
There's a whole lot of ways that can happen. Basically, you know, reviewing process and procedures and making sure that people are in compliance with the laws. That's a big part of it. Making sure that people are, you know, I did a lot of training, just educating people on the law so that they are aware of what they were doing, and then help them design some procedures and policies that would stay in line with you know, the company business and also with what is required by the law.
Yeah, Natalia, you want to follow up?
Yes, thank you so much. And having heard that, I can see that there might be a huge role of an in-house counsel in actually the decision-making process within the company. What can you say about that? How does in-house counsel support decision-making processes in businesses?
Well, from a legal standpoint, there's a, you know, a lot of times there's a legal component to decisions to go forward. Also, your in-house counsel also has usually a broad experience and can provide some business support as well. But basically, it's good to have someone who can understand the landscape that you're heading into and provide advice on going forward. And, you know, I try really hard to, you know, tell somebody if you can't do something, find another way to get their goal accomplished. Because a lot of times the client has a goal in mind, they're heading straight for it, but they're heading straight for a wall. But so what I help them do is, you know, figure ways around and avoid hitting the obstacles and moving forward in the direction they want, and with as few legal obstacles as possible.
Yeah, so Sonia, let's discuss intellectual property and all your business secrets that you want to keep to yourself and not let go to your competitors. You know, recently in the news, there's been this discussion between Twitter versus Meta, where Twitter is suing Meta potentially over intellectual property for their new app, Threads. And so I believe there was some letter out in the media between Twitter's in-house counsel or the law firm representing them threatening potential lawsuits against, you know, their competitor for stealing their intellectual property and hiring ex-workers. And so what role does in-house counsel play in protecting a business's intellectual property and their confidential information so that their competitors don't steal?
Well, there's a lot of work to do on the front end. Basically, you want to trademark your products and protect those names, and then also to the extent you can patent things, you want to go ahead and file a patent so that no one can be using that. But once you get all that put together, you then have to have, it's good to have in-house counsel who's monitoring what's going on and making sure that there's no, when using those, because you went to all the effort to get them, you want to make sure that no one's out there using them inappropriately or taking advantage of them. So you've got a lot of cease and desist letters, and just maintaining your dominance in that field with your names and your products. And it's real important to keep that, because obviously you don't want to have someone who's tarnishing your reputation by providing inferior quality using your name. Or you lose your customers because they think they're working with you, but they're actually working with somebody else. So it's real important that you protect your brand name and your products.
It seems a little bit counterintuitive, but I understand that having an in-house legal counsel can actually promote effective communication and collaboration within the organization. Can you tell us in which way? What does your experience shows? Maybe you have some real-life examples where you can tell us how being an in-house lawyer saved some conflicts that could potentially arise, helped solve problems that were within the management. Tell us please something about it.
Sure, I can give actually a really good example. It's when I worked for the city of Houston, I started a group. I was an environmental attorney, and so what I did is I had department heads from the health department, the fire department, police department, solid waste, and parks department start meeting on a monthly basis. And what was amazing is they started realizing, oops, we're doing this wrong, or that there's cross education. For instance, Coca-Cola does not go well with chlorine, and so the parks department had pools where they educate their workers to make sure they didn't walk in with a can of Coke and place it on top of the canisters of chlorine. And it was just some sort of cross education where it was really amazing how we started helping people in that regard. Also, the police department had a tank where they would shoot the bullets in to do the ballistics testing. And that tank was on the second floor of a building that probably wasn't designed to hold a big tank of water. But they were just taking that tank of water and dumping it out on the ground. But of course, it was all full of lead. So it was a big problem. So basically, we start, cross-educating people, do you understand what you're doing? So it really did benefit everybody to understand, what one person was doing with another. Because a lot of times, different departments in a company kind of get tunnel vision and don't think that their actions actually implicate any other departments. But quite often you find that they're, changing the size of a box. You may think that doesn't matter to you, but people that end up using the box, they may not have the right amount of storage, or the shelf spacing is not the right size to accommodate those boxes. And so, it's really important to have communication.
So, Sonia, thank you so much for these thoughts. Could you tell us how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach you? And just one last question, though, before you lead out with that. Does this save businesses money by having an in-house counsel versus having to go hire outside firm? What would you say about that?
I would say definitely yes, because you don't. A lot of times what people do when they have outside counsel, they kind of wait till the last minute and everything's falling apart. Then they call their outside counsel to fix the pieces.
Yep.
Having inside counsel kind of helps you not get to that. Because a lot of people don't know that as soon as they pick up the phone, the money starts taken away as soon as they call that outside counsel. But when you have somebody in-house, you know that you can call them up and ask them any question, and you're not going to be charged for every single minute that you're speaking to them. It's basically part of the budget, but it really does save money. And then also you end up, saving in the risk prevention, communications, and innumerable ways of adding the cross communication.
Got it. Yeah. So how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. Probably the best way is just to send me an email at sonia@soniaaston.com. There's my phone number as well, but probably the easiest and fastest way to get hold of me is through the email. So really appreciate being on here with you.
No, absolutely. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing this knowledge with us about in-house legal counsel and how we can help your business. All right. Until next time, we'll take a short break.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
As a home or business owner, it can be tough to find a painting company that you can rely on. Look no further. Hi, I'm Courtney Hughes, owner of 360 Painting West Houston, your go-to painting company for residential and commercial needs. 360 Painting's mission is simple. We want to provide you with the highest quality finish and the best painting experience possible. Our company's residential and commercial painting services are founded on 3 core values. First, quality. We ensure the use of premium paints, high quality finishes, and proven painting methods. Second, professionalism. We are committed to professional and responsive painting services. We coordinate and plan projects around your schedule and will treat your property with the utmost respect. And lastly, customer service. Your satisfaction is our #1 priority. So before laying a single brushstroke, we will make sure that we understand your vision for your home or office, and we'll do all that we can to paint that vision into reality. We strive to complete every project to your specifications, and we ensure professional, accountable, and reliable service from the first brushstroke to the last. So the next time that you need your home or business painted, give us a call for your free estimate at 713-829-1581.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Welcome after the break in the NowMedia television show Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. And today, I'm very proud to introduce someone from my homeland, from Poland, however, doing international work in the very important field that's very close to our hearts, being the family lawyers, me and Mac. My friend, Monika Perkowska, who is a child psychologist and child psychotherapist, and she's helping families with going through very challenging times in their lives, the times of divorce, split, separation. And today we're going to be discussing with her how to best protect children when any of this sort of situation happens. Monika, welcome, and please tell the audience a few words about your background and what you do.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm really enjoy talking to you about children problems. I'm a psychotherapist working with children, families, and children and their parents. Every day I help families to have better relationships. I work according to my own safe relationship therapeutic method, the basic principle of which is to build a safe relationship with children so that they feel safe during psychotherapy. And you know that therapy would help them trust themselves and others. I work with children and families in Warsaw, yes, in Poland, and every day I meet a child or teenager who is dealing with the separation of their parents and has various symptoms because of it. And I think as a psychologist, I take into account that not in some moments of a child's life in environment may not be supportive enough and give too little sense of security. And professionals like me, like you, are there to help in such moments.
So, Monica, welcome back, and thank you so much for the time that you're giving to us today. In the past episodes we've done on the podcast, you spent a lot of time discussing, your work and the passion you have for helping kids. So let's go to the basics. Look, divorces happen all over the world, okay? No matter if you're here in Texas or if you're in Poland. But one thing that every parent has to struggle with when it comes to a divorce that has children is, what do you tell the kids? So what's your opinion? Should parents make a plan to discuss the divorce process with the children?
Oh yes, if possible, have this discussion together with the other parent present. This will allow the children to feel like you're both still connected and willing to work together. And in my opinion, you have to plan what you will say to protect your kids from your hurt or anger by planning together. And I think it's extremely difficult for parents to speak maybe with your spouse, or you can agree on how you will do it. Consider using the service of a mediator or counselor to help you work, but you have to plan what you want to say to your kids. Yes. And I think the most important thing is to tell kids at the same time, we have some decisions and we are with you, we are together, and you can reduce the chance of any false narratives.
And Monica, there is an important issue that always comes into question, and people who are divorcing always have this tendency to tell the children the truth. Do you really think parents should be telling the truth to their children? Is it really necessary for the children to know what really happened and why the parents are divorcing? Tell us what your therapeutic view on that is.
As psychotherapist, child psychotherapist, I can say that truth is not an adult truth. It is, only for child truth. And children are very sensitive and they don't want to have some parents issues or adult issues or no adult problems. And I think that it is so important to develop a non-blaming narrative. For example, we love you very much. And we are together, we aren't happy together, or we both want our arguing to stop, or we both decided to have to have a separation. But it is so harmful, and we have to avoid the temptation to assign blame or say whose fault is this. And for example, dad had an affair, or I don't know, dad is leaving us, or something like that. So it is your subjective truth, and it is more important that you have to be as you can as so much objective as you can. I know that it's not so easy, but don't blame anyone.
That's a very, tough pill to swallow sometimes for many people, because people are emotional creatures and we sometimes want to lash out and blame, especially when we've been hurt. And so if you do end up sharing things with your children in the middle of a divorce, what can a parent expect? Because most people who are going through a divorce, it's the first time they're going through it, or for some people, it's the second time. So they might have had a little bit of experience. But my point is, most people don't go through this kind of stuff all the time. And so they may not know what to expect. So what would you say that they should expect, that your kids might say or respond?
Oh, I think that kids' reactions are completely normal. It could be sadness, they could feel anger, and I think it's completely normal. And it is so important to invite the questions, but without pressure. And some kids don't want to talk right away. Others will have many questions to the extent that you can be honest and clear in your responses. And sometimes it is so important to just see what behavior show your children, and to be very sensitive. And you have to watch, is it okay or not okay now with my son or with my daughter emotional life. So the response is different, and it's quite normal.
I do believe that a lot of people would want to help their children, and when they do, I think what helps is also to know what children feel when they go through the process of their parents divorcing. Can you describe to our viewers, what do children really feel to make parents more aware what to expect?
Yes, parents' divorce is always a difficult experience, not only for the child, but also for the parents. And therefore, divorced adults are rarely able to help the child when they know the feelings. And I think the child could be feeling stressed for a long time because his parents weren't showing love, they were arguing, etc. And he feels sad because family fell apart. He feels anger at parents, and the world, that parents don't want to be together. So it's the new situation, and he or she feels loneliness because parents are absorbed in their own affairs and they're in a poor mental condition. It is so important, I think. And he or she may feel relief because there will be no quarrel in the family after all. So it's surprising for some people, or she or he is ashamed that the family is different than others, or feels anxiety about what will happen next. So, or anxious about moving in, meeting new parents, partners, and it is a various, sometimes chaotic emotional life.
So, Monica, tell us, when people want to get a hold of you, maybe for therapy purposes, or to have their children speak with you, or maybe to get some help and tips themselves for how they need to process through this divorce experience, what's the best way to reach you?
The best way, I think, is to contact me, is to write an email to monica@monicaperkowska.com, and I will answer all the time. And of course, I provide office here in Warsaw, Poland, and you can book some online consultation or email consultation, and it could be helpful for you.
Thank you so much, Monica, for agreeing to be with us today. For those who are watching and viewing, please know that for us it's getting quite late here, but it's been a pleasure, and the topic is quite important, and it usually moves a lot of our viewers and listeners, and definitely we're going to have Monica back. And with this segment, I hope leaving our viewers with something to think about in their own lives and their decisions that they're about to make. I would want to give huge thanks to Monica and to Mac for co-hosting this program, and to say goodbye on behalf of NowMedia Television, and see you next week.
Okay, until next time.
This has been a NowMedia Television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
Hey, are you a small business owner that's struggling to double or triple your revenue and profits? My name is Michael Rager. I'm your business guide with Teach Your Business to Fitch. Our success operating system will help you double or triple your profits every 2 to 3 years while actually maintaining some semblance of a home life. Call us at 713-201-5559 and we'll help you become a real success.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.